All right, here we go. So today, like I said, it's going to be pretty simple. It's an introduction to distance learning and then introduction to the poem I had you guys read for last week, Marlowe's Passionate Shepherd. All right, so first thing I want to go over are some policies. Most of these are going to be policies that are similar or the same in all of your classes. The grading policy might be slightly different in here, but I'll go over that with you. All right, so here are the policies for ELA 10. The first one is that late work is not accepted. All right, now this is just a blanket policy. This is true for all of your distance learning classes, that late work is not going to be taken. The reason for this is because for online to work, you need a very clear cutoff point, all right? And for us, that cutoff point is going to be every Friday. So your assignments, you will always receive them early. You will always have until the end of the week on Friday at 11:59 to get them done. So you can guarantee that week of time for everything. All assignments are going to be graded on a 10-point scale. It just makes things easier. So everything is worth 10 points. And most of the feedback that you're going to get is going to be in the form of either comments on your work or in the form of a rubric that I attach to most assignments. So all of you should have, who turned in your work last week, probably noticed the rubric on there. So for this week, you'll have 2 assignments, and then they have rubrics attached. As far as the rubric scale goes, it goes from 0 to 4. When I translate this into a grade for the grade book, a 0 is a 50, a 1 is a 60, a 2 is a 75, a 3 is a 90, and a 4 is 100. Okay, so again, those percentages will be applied to a 10-point scale, and then the 0 through 4 are the the categories on your rubrics. So keep that in mind. A score of 3 is your goal. Ideally, you're going to shoot for 3s or 4s. Just make sure that your quality of work is 3 or 4 quality of work. And again, reference the rubrics. And I'll take your questions soon. All assignments are to be submitted using Google Classroom. Hopefully, it looks like most of the issues that people were having have gotten resolved. So hopefully that's true. If you're still having issues when I ask you guys to unmute, you can let me know. We'll address those here. But every assignment is going to have a document that's attached to it for you to complete and submit. So just like you did last week, you click on the document, it makes a copy for you. You just fill it out, get it done, turn in, boom. I had a little bit of confusion with having 2 documents on one post. And so we're going to keep each assignment posting to 1 document just for the sake of things being easy. The exception to this is going to be discussion boards or discussion activities. I still have to kind of figure out a format that makes me happy for that type of assignment. I'll give you guys more information. Google Classroom has a discussion board feature, but it's really not that great. At least I don't care for it. So me and Davis are looking into other avenues. So again, I'll let you know. But for most of your assignments, it's going to be on Classroom attached in the document. So if you're struggling to use Classroom, I want you to follow these steps first before you ask me. Of course, I will help you, but just to cut down on the number of similar questions, the first thing I want you to do if you're having a hard time is to try a different device. It's very possible that the device that you're using, especially if you're using a phone, that might make it more complicated. I know that using a phone for turning in assignments especially is not always the easiest. I recommend a computer if you can. Ask someone else for help. We have a lot of people who have figured out how to use Classroom on here, so that's awesome. So ask one another for help, and then look up your issue before asking me. For our discussion boards, we're going to be using the 4 C's: discussion, norms, confirm, connect, change, clarify. I'm pretty sure Celia uses this. Point is, you've seen this somewhere, and I'll give you more information as we get to there. All right, and then finally, just when will things be posted? So assignments and materials will always be posted every Sunday. Ideally, I would like you to read assignment materials before class. That'd be cool. And then all assignments are due Friday. So I'm trying to keep it simple. Nothing's due in the middle of the week. Just get it all done by the end of the week. If you're struggling throughout the week to complete the work, please let me know. Message, email, text using the phone number that's on the packets, all that stuff. All right. If you submit your work early, then you'll get a grade early. Turnaround will be as quick as possible. I try to get it graded within 24 to max 48 hours after you submit it. After assignments are due on Friday, you may have Saturday and Sunday to revise your work to possibly earn a higher grade, but it needs to be in by the end of the day on Sunday. Finalized assignment scores will be put into PowerSchool the next week. So you guys probably already know this from the communication from the school, but your quarter 3 grade is now going to be extended to be your semester 2 grade. All right, so whatever your quarter 3 grade is right now, that's your semester 2 grade. These assignments that you do for class can only enhance that grade, right? It cannot drop your grade. So if there's an assignment that you struggle with and you get a poor grade, that's not going to hurt you, all right? Because your grades can only help you. However, improvement to your grade is not automatic, and you must give me quality work, all right? So let's say you have a B. In order to improve that grade, you need to give me work that is a B grade or higher, okay? So keep that in mind and make sure that you're always putting forth your best effort. All right, so if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and take a moment to ask. Yep.
So what if you already have an A in this class and just don't want to do the work? Can we
So I wouldn't recommend that. And the reason why I wouldn't recommend that is because if you're not keeping up and you have this gigantic space of time where you're not in school, then by the time you start next year, you're going to have regressed a bit. And it's going to make next year harder. And keep in mind, next year for you guys is SAT year, right? And SAT is already kind of messed up for this year. So who knows what it's going to be like next year. But the point is, I highly recommend that you keep up as best you can, all right, so that you can start next year on a good footing. So that's my official answer. Other questions?
No.
All right, cool. If you have questions at some point, let me know. All right. So real quick, so actually make sure you unmute yourself. What are your impressions of distance learning so far? What do you like or dislike about the way that I've organized class so far? Is there anything that you think needs improvement? So we're kind of basing this off of the assignment you got last week.
It was straight. The TPC.
Yeah, typecast.
Yeah. That was kind of hard, but that was it.
Okay. Is there anything that needs improvement about the way that I'm like giving you guys information? Is it enough communication?
Yeah.
Just enough.
Okay. All right. Cool. Overall, would you say that you guys like doing school like this or no?
Yeah.
I can go and get snacks at any time.
Right. That is kind of nice. All right, cool. All right. All right, so let's get started. If you can open the poem from last week, it'd be a good idea to have it open, but I'll have a copy on the screen too. Yeah, let's get started. So our I heard myself on someone's. Oh, we're good. Okay. So our learning targets for this week, there are 3 of them. I have this on a separate post under the week 2 stuff, but just to go over it with the whole group. The first one, I can identify a central idea or theme in the passionate shepherd. The second is I can identify the time and place Marlowe evokes in the poem by analyzing Marlowe's word choice, meaning, and tone. And 3, I can examine how the time and place Marlowe evokes further develops the central idea or theme. So this first one here, this is what we went over last week with your annotations and typecast. Again, we're going to focus on this again and just sort of refine the central idea that you would come up with initially. These two, though, are new. You're going to be focusing on the time period and then the place that the poem is set in, okay? And you're going to focus on the way that Marlowe uses words, the way that he means those words, his tone, in order to come up with that time or place. And that's really what assignment 2 is all about, is developing an understanding of the time and place that the poem takes place in. And then you're going to be looking at how the time and place develops a central idea. You can either use the central idea that you chose for your typecast, or if you're unhappy with that or feel after today that you need to revisit that, you just come up with whatever revised central idea you think is more accurate to that poem. But this is what the third learning target is really what assignment 3 is about. That quick write, it's really asking you to make an argument for what theme Marlowe is going for in that text, and then how he's using time and place to do that. So those are our 3 learning targets. Hopefully they're easy to understand. Again, I have a separate post on these that has correlations with the rubrics. You guys can look at that. But that's what we're doing this week. Okay, so really quickly, I want to go over some stuff from last week, week 1. So again, that was your annotations and your typecast. So I want to go over what went well and what could use improvement. So the thing that went well is that over half of you guys submitted assignments. Now, over half might not sound good, but I expected a lot less, honestly. So good job there. Keep that up. Now, many submissions were quality. So good job there. Keep that up. A lot of you were good about asking me questions and expressing if you were frustrated with either the process or the way that assignments were turned in, or like you couldn't see them. That's all good stuff. I'd rather you communicate with me, even if it's a frustration, than not tell me and then be confused. So good job there. And then Xavier and Cameron were 2 that submitted particularly excellent work. So good job there. Though many people did submit quality work, theirs was particularly well done. Some things that we can improve on. Some submissions. Now there were only a couple like this, but some were pretty low quality or lacked effort, like the type of effort that I know I see from that person if we were in school. So just be aware of that. Make sure that the quality of work is good, because again, the points are not automatic. You're graded based on a rubric. So the rubric is very clear on what it expects. If you're not providing that, then you don't get those points. Let me move this real quick. Come on. Right, that works. Anyway, the other issue was that for some of you, there were formatting, grammatical, and mechanical errors. I have a theory, and my theory is that the people for whom that was a problem, I almost guarantee you that those people use their phones to complete the work, which is fine. But make sure that if you are completing work via your phone, all the rules of writing apply. This is still an English class, so there still is an expectation that you're not just like texting, like text speak information. So just be aware of that. So do a better job of proofreading things if you don't already. All right, so that was kind of just a quick overview of last week. So I want to talk about what you guys did for the annotation and the typecast. Before we do that, I want to go over these 4 points, and then we'll open up the mics to a little bit of conversation. So I gave you guys a little information last week about Marlowe and pastoral poems. I just kind of want to reiterate some of that stuff so that we're all on the same page. Christopher Marlowe was a playwright. He lived in the Elizabethan era, and his plays Shakespeare borrowed from pretty heavily. So when you see a lot of the tragedies that Shakespeare wrote, a lot of them cover the same ideas that Marlowe covers in his plays. Some of the themes are the same as themes that Marlowe covers in his plays as well. Marlowe was primarily interested in themes of love and the relationship between power and knowledge. And the one that we're focusing on with the Passionate Shepherd really is love. Marlowe often had a cynical view of romantic love. So in a lot of his work, he kind of made fun of the idea of romantic love. Yet he wrote The Passionate Shepherd, which on the surface celebrates romantic love. So that's an interesting connection that we could potentially explore. Pastoral poems. So The Passionate Shepherd is an example of a pastoral poem. And pastoral poems create an idealized version of rustic or country life. So they're all about celebrating living in the country. They're celebrating nature, natural things, things like that. So when you're reading that poem, I want you to really keep that in mind, that that's the focus, right, of Marlowe creating that ideal version. All right. So those are just some quick notes, and I'm going to post this online so you guys will have access to this after. So if you need this information. Okay. So at this point, unmute yourself, please. Actually, I think I can just unmute everyone, can I? I don't know. Well, regardless, unmute yourself. We got 7 discussion questions. We're not going to go over all of them, but I just kind of want to take a moment and go over some of this stuff. Let me put up the poem real quick in case you need to see that. My life's a mess right now. All right, sorry about that. All right, so here's our poem. So what first thing I want to talk about, what is the text about? Like, speaking literally, what is Marlowe writing about? Who could tell me?
The pleasures of nature.
Okay, so Marlowe is writing about the pleasures of nature, right? He's that's one thing. What else might you say he's writing about? Like, if you had to say what is this a poem about, what might you say?
About love.
Love. Good. So we got the pleasures of nature and we got love. 2 very distinct ideas that Marlowe is going to connect. So I'm glad that you guys mentioned both of those. Okay, so when you're looking at this poem, I want you to look at what these sentences are like. So how would you describe the sentences that Marlowe uses?
Didn't you say it was AABB?
Okay, yeah. So our rhyme scheme AABB. That's true. So what that means, if you're not sure, if you look at stanza 1 here, come live with me and be my love. Back then, they would have pronounced that Louvre. So come with me and be my Louvre, and we will all the pleasures prove that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods, or steepy mountain yields. So each line rhymes with the line below it. We call these rhymed couplets. So that would be AABB. Good. So that's the first thing. What sort of words does Christopher Marlowe use if you look through this whole thing?
What words does he use to what?
What types of words does he use to sort of establish a sense of place? Like, give readers a sense of where we are in the poem, like physically.
Seeing the shepherds feed their flock.
Okay, so shepherds feed their flocks. What does that tell us about the setting of the poem?
Like a farmland.
Okay, so we have shepherds, they're feeding their flock. That evokes a sense of a farmland or something like that. Good. What else is there in the poem that gives us a sense of time or place?
I don't know.
one thing you could look at here, I will make thee a bed of roses and 1,000 fragrant posies. These are flowers, so a field of flowers, a cap of flowers. Myrtle's a type of plant, so we've got all this plant life, all of these flowers. Shallow rivers, we got melodious birds, steepy mountain, woods, groves, valleys. Point is, all of these examples of a natural environment. Good. So his word choice you can describe as naturalistic. He uses words that gives us imagery about nature, things like that. So there, you have a lot of flexibility there. As far as patterns, we kind of went over that with rhyme scheme. When I asked what the text is about, someone said love. Someone said it's about the pleasures of life. So as far as a pattern, if you look here, a gown made of the finest wool, from which our pretty lambs we pull, fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold. Now, in this stanza, what about this stanza is talking about love, in your opinion?
Fair line slippers for the cold with buckles of the purest gold.
Okay, so how is that suggesting love or some sort of idea of affection?
Go get the food. Go downstairs. Oh, all right.
I'll say the one above it.
Okay,
I would
and
too.
why?
Because like they're showing like affection towards the lambs, like they call the lambs pretty, and then
Okay.
it's talking about like the wood, how it's the finest wood.
Okay, good. So it's the finest wool, affection toward the lamb. Any other ideas?
Cause like purest gold, like
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so he's describing the lamb, describing the wool with terms of endearment, right? Now, what about this is nature? Because remember, this is a pastoral poem. So what in here is suggesting nature or an appreciation of it?
You done?
The finest wool.
Good. We got the finest wool. Like you said earlier, Cameron, we got the purest gold. And if you go up, you can see that here too. We got beds of roses, right? Cap of flowers. A cap's like a hat. Leaves of myrtle. Leaves of myrtle. So he's using nature, like flowers, wool, to create what? What is nature creating in these examples?
Well, like beauty.
Exactly. So nature and all the parts of nature are being used to create some sort of natural beauty, right? Also being used to create physical objects. So we got a bed. You could think of that as like a literal physical bed, a bed of roses. Roses, flower, part of nature. A bed is something that you would have in your home, right? And it's something that people tend to want, like a nice version
Did
of.
y'all ever go switch out that load?
So you could think of this as Christopher Marlowe is trying to establish these pleasures, right? Things like a nice bed, nice clothes, nice shoes, things that people really care about in life. And he's creating them with elements of nature, things that you can just find in the natural world. This is classic pastoral poetry, right? It's appreciating nature and it's relating that nature to our theme of love. All right. So we talked about 5. Does anyone have any additional thoughts or ideas about the poem? Anything that they'd like to share, things that they might have noticed or something along those lines?
No.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So, you know how you said it was like a pastoral poem. So basically, is it comparing like country life and urban life, saying how it's like urban life is better than country life, or how a country life is better than urban life?
Country
urban.
better than urban. So yeah, so whenever we're looking at pastoral is always going to make the argument that the country life is preferable. because of the beauty of nature and all the things that nature can provide you, things like that. So yeah, so in thinking that Marlo is trying to create an appreciation for like country life, absolutely. It's good. It's a good question. Any other questions? Anything else that needs clarification?
I mean,
Oh, I'm in now.
sometimes it won't let you join. Okay, are you in Kutchies now?
Mm-hmm. I think he can hear me.
Yep.
He's smiling.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Cutchy.
Hello. We're all good?
Explain to him that.
Yes.
we were
You know
having
how
trouble
long
getting
it
in.
took me to get in here?
Long time?
Yes.
You just had to click on the link, right?
Okay, tell him how to
No,
say hi,
because
and then
look,
I'll let you go.
because the first one, all right, bye. The first one I had got on, the first one, right?
Right.
I'm still outside, but I'm outside cleaning the backyard and stuff because my mama woke me up early to clean the backyard. So I'm cleaning, and my then
Why is she always talking about cleaning?
because that's what my mama had me do all the time. So anyways, then that's what twins. One of the twins had texted me. They was like, "Why you wasn't in Mr. Cutchy Zoom call?" And I'm like, "What is that?" They was like, "The Zoom call that he sent us the thing," and I'm like, I didn't get it. I didn't see it. She was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm cleaning the backyard."
So the good thing is anything that you miss, I'm going to post this online after. So anything that you miss, you can see, okay?
I'm going to let you go then.
Okay.
All right?
So don't worry.
Right.
You'll be good.
I'll talk to you Friday. And
Who is that Miss Mata?
Yeah, she was helping me get in here.
Okay. All right. So
she said hi.
Hello.
She said hello.
So we got our thoughts and ideas about the poem. Is there anything that anyone would like to add about it? Either a thought or a question? Anything like that?
What happened to Machiavelli? What happened to him?
Machiavelli. What do you mean? What happened to him? Like what happened to us reading that? I don't really have a good answer. The poetry just.
I better not be the only person out here. I'm about to go inside.
What?
Dog! Shut up!
Is that Kennedy? No. Oh wait, it might have been. Anyway, as far as Machiavelli goes, we might revisit it. We were only going to look at another chapter, so we had already finished half of it. But we figured that since we had taken a few weeks to figure out what virtual school was going to look like, that we figured that was too long to really go back and appreciate it the same way. So we're putting that on hold. We might come back to it, we might not, but you had already did half of what I had planned. So we'll see. Does anyone have a theme that they would like to share from their typecast? Just to kind of get a couple out there.
I don't remember. I put on my typecast. I think I put like complexity or like complex.
Okay.
Mr. C was talking.
Kind of hard to understand.
Okay. Now by theme I mean like main like central ideas. So like what do you think Marlo's purpose in writing this was? What's he trying to teach us?
To appreciate the country life, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So perhaps to appreciate country life. Good. Does anyone have a different idea? If not yet, that's okay, because that's what we're gonna work on.
It wasn't that bad.
I have the pleasures of life.
Pleasures of life.
Yeah, he was talking about like all the pleasures and how happy he would be if she had came with him. And
Good. Yeah, so we got this appreciation angle where we're talking about love, appreciation of nature. Then we got the pleasures of life. So this week, what we're going to do is you're going to take a moment and really think about how to combine those two ideas. So that's really what assignment 2 and 3 is about. So as far as discussing this poem, that's where we're going to stop right now. Just because I want you guys to work a bit more with it before we go into more detail. But good job so far. So let me just talk about our next steps. So assignment 2 and 3 are due on Friday. Assignment 2 is a poetry analysis questions. Those questions are going to be talking about the pleasures, this idea of pleasure, and how Marlo's using nature to represent it, and how all those things relate to love. So if there's 3 things I want you to really think about when you're looking at this text, is that you're looking at pleasure, its relationship to nature and how nature represents it, and then how both of those things make a commentary on love. As long as you're addressing those 3 things, you're good. Okay, so love, nature, pleasures. So assignment 2 is going to have you really work through those 3 connections. Assignment 3 is a quick write. On the assignment sheet, there's a lot of detail about what's expected. Do not give me like a 2 or 3 sentence thing. Okay. It will not be detailed enough. I said on there, you guys know I don't really like to count sentences. But I said if you have less than 10, you're probably not detailed enough. Okay. But you have a whole week. So it's not like it has to be done now. You have a whole week to have it done. But the quick write's going to ask you about a central idea, and to support that central idea with the way that Marlo discusses time and place. So when you get assignment 2 done, assignment 3 should be clear. If not, we could do something in the middle of the week if you need more clarification. But that's where we're looking at for now. So you got the poem analysis questions, and we got the quick write. Use your copy of the poem. If you need an extra, I posted the link on the classroom page as well. Make sure that after you read through each assignment document, watch the instructional clip if you're confused that I posted yesterday. That should help make things a little clearer if you need it. If you have questions, let me know. And next week, we'll begin reading a different but related poem, and we'll start to make connections between them. So,
who's making all that noise disrupting the class?
Right?
Right.
Get out.
We're almost done. So just control your environment.
Kick him, Kachi.
Kick them?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
What a hose.
So next week we're going to be looking at a different poem. Class next week we'll discuss the work that you guys do for assignment 2 and 3. We'll put a cap on that, and then we'll be all set to move on. Any questions?
No, Mr. Cookie.
I got you in like 20 minutes again.
So how is this going so far for you guys? Like, do you guys feel good?
Yeah.
They was telling us, As long as I
Alright.
get
Did they
to be
that long?
Every week is our assignment. Is our assignments gonna change? Like, are we gonna
I mean,
have
I
a number?
passed. So we just the fact that
Hold on. Say that one more time.
Are we gonna have different
No,
number of assignments?
Oh, you
every
got some more in there.
Audio messing up.
All right, hold on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to mute everyone real quick so I can answer that.
Whatever you do.
All right. Carter, I'm going to unmute. No, that's Cameron. Cameron's quiet.
No, don't unmute.
Carter, I unmuted you. All right, so you're asking, are we going to have the same number of assignments each week?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So it's always going to be 2. How long are they? I'm trying to keep it down to like a realistic, like something you could do in a normal class period. So the length of the assignments are going to always be pretty realistic as far as that's concerned, but there's always going to be 2 of them.
What about like tests and finals?
Tests, don't worry about tests. As far as I know, we're not doing any. As far as finals, I think we're not doing any. So I don't think you have to worry about that. If that changes, I'll let you know. But I'm not preparing for anything like that as of right now. So it looks like your grade for the end of the year is just going to be whatever you have now for quarter to 3 plus whatever you get from all of this online stuff.
So I basically got a 4.0. So can I just like miss a couple days?
I would say you do what you believe is best for you, but that I would take this opportunity to really enrich yourself as much as possible. This is good practice for the way that a lot of college classes run. So use this, take this as an opportunity to practice those good habits so that when you transition into college, you're more prepped. But obviously I can't sit over your shoulder, but I do trust that you're going to make the right choice for you. Any other questions?
No.
Nope.
All right.
Actually,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's about it for us today. So make sure you guys have those 2 assignments done for the end of the week. If you need
Be
something,
best, Mr. Cutchy. Be best. Bye.
all right, bye. If you need something, let me know. Otherwise, you guys are good to go. It's nice seeing you or hearing you.
Nice seeing you too. Have
I
a nice
will,
day.
good, you too. I will post this in the next like half hour. I'll post this online so that you can view it. So Kennedy, if you're missing something, you can view it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Have a good day, guys.